Yes. No. It depends. So, from a caloric standpoint, yes, they are equal. However, their effect on the body is going to be different based on other aspects of that food. So, when we talk about brown sugar, that is an example of a simple carbohydrate. Now, a simple carbohydrate is a carbohydrate that's going to basically burn through your body very, very quickly. Simple carbohydrates get such a bad rep nowadays, right? Like, I was just looking up some stuff about simple versus complex carbs, and it was like, complex carbs, good, simple carbs, bad. There's no such thing as a good or bad food. Food is food. It's all about the application of that food and how it's applied to the things we do daily. Now, if I want some brown sugar, you know what I'm saying, in my oatmeal a little bit, I'm gonna put a little brown sugar in my oatmeal, but just a little bit. Now when we start to like freaking dab our freaking oatmeal to the point where you want some oatmeal with your brown sugar, that's when we have issues, because that's an overconsumption, and that leads to more issues down the line. Then we have complex carbohydrates. We got my guy oatmeal. Oatmeal, he's pretty awesome. The main difference between my guy brown sugar back there and my guy oatmeal here, one thing, fiber. Now, there's two types of fiber. There's soluble and insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber can be dissolved by water. Insoluble fiber cannot. So soluble fiber is dope because it can actually help slow your digestion down. What it actually does is it turns like this like sticky gel substance and kind of goes into your stomach and just like slows things down. And that's what helps with blood glucose regulation, those levels from spiking, and it also helps you feel fuller for longer. Now, insoluble fiber is not dissolvable in water, but what it does do is it helps your digestion be more smooth. It allows the food to pass through easier, and it can help with things like constipation, and just it can help influence regular bowel movements or pooping, because pooping is good. Now, fiber in general will help you feel more satiated, aka you're gonna feel fuller for longer. You can have a ton of that brown sugar stuff and basically have no effect to your body in terms of how hungry you feel in a good way. It's gonna be bad. You're gonna feel more hungry. Why? Because your blood glucose levels are gonna spike. And when those glucose levels spike, watch me become a meme or something. Essentially, you're just gonna be hungry later on. Now, it's a good idea, especially for weight loss, to consume low GI foods. Foods that don't have a big effect on your glucose levels are considered low glycemic index foods. These foods aren't going to influence your blood glucose, in a very impactful way. You don't want to spike the blood glucose levels consistently, because when your body has a lot of glucose in the bloodstream, the pancreas releases a hormone called insulin to basically absorb that blood glucose into the cells to later be used for energy. Now, if that keeps happening, that spike, release, spike, release, spike, release, spike, release, spike, release, eventually the body goes, this glucose is here, but, I don't really care. I'm just not gonna do anything with it. Insulin, what's that? I'm just not even gonna use that. And it's basically something called insulin insensitivity. It's one of the predisposers for type 2 diabetes. It can eventually develop into that condition over time. Now, that is a lifestyle-based disease for the most part. If someone is developing type 2 diabetes, they have lived a certain way for a certain amount of time, and the body essentially just doesn't respond the same to insulin the way it used to. And the research shows that some of the best ways to combat insulin insensitivity, high fiber diet. Remember, we talked about how it affects the digestion process. And another way is exercise. Exercise is a great way for the body to utilize insulin correctly again and respond to it correctly again, because we're actually using that.
What is that?
What is this? I don't know what this means. We're actually using that glucose from our muscles, because eventually, if you just keep storing the glucose, it ain't no space. It's just, you got glucose everywhere. Glycogen storages are full. We gotta use them. So use them. And eventually, as you start to exercise more and improve your eating habits, that insulin sensitivity can get combated and lowered. I got 2 plates. Let's imagine plate 1 here has French fries on it from your favorite restaurant. Let's imagine plate 2 has a sweet potato on it. Now, comparatively, the fiber in plate 1 with the French fries versus the fiber in plate 2 are drastically different. This plate is gonna have way more calories for way less fiber than this guy over here, who's gonna have way more fiber for way less calories. I'm pretty sure that if you ate a part of a sweet potato, you're gonna be way fuller than having a whole container of French fries, and you're gonna consume way less calories. And this is why fast food sucks so much, because we can just keep eating it, and have no feelings of satiation, or again, the feeling of being full. So what's the takeaway from this Training Tip Tuesday? Simple carbohydrates are not bad inherently. In moderation, they're just fine. Just don't have all of your carbohydrates be simple carbohydrates, especially if you're trying to lose weight.